Good evening. It is 7 o'clock, and I'll call the special meeting of council to order and confirm that we do have quorum. At this time, I'm looking for approval of the agenda. Councillor Couvrette.
Good evening, Your Worship, and thank you. I move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cox. Discussion. All in favor? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Councillor Cox.
I move that bylaw 1015, appointment of SAO, be given third reading by title only.
Thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Smith. Discussion. All in favor? Abstentions? One abstention, Councillor Pissinger. Motion is passed. Absence of council members? Councillor Couvrette.
I move that Councillor Campbell and Councillor MacArthur be excused from a special meeting on June 1st, 2021.
Discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Passed unanimously. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Cox.
I move that the meeting be adjourned at 7:05 p.m.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Couvrette. All in favor? Thank you. Passed unanimously. It is 7:05, and I'll call the Corporate Services Committee meeting to order and pass the chair to Deputy Mayor Smith.
Thank you. So we'll get to the agenda in a sec. We don't have any delegations. Are there any declarations of financial interest? So seeing none, we'll review the agenda. Looking for a motion to adopt. Councillor Couvrette.
I move the agenda be adopted as presented.
Can I get a second? Councillor Pissinger. Discussion? Mayor Napier.
Thank you. I would like to make a change to the agenda under 4B. Just a statement from the town of Fort Smith and a moment of silence.
Councillor Couvrette, are you amenable to the change? Okay. Is it something new to the agenda under Truth and Reconciliation? And what would that be?
Yeah, it's dealing with, in reference to bylaw 346, exempt certain properties from taxation.
Further discussion on the agenda, Councillor Cox?
I also have an addition to the agenda under 9A, other business, Kaiser's Canal.
So there's three adjustments to the agenda. The 4B, statement from the town, a moment of silence. 5A8, discussion of property tax exemption, bylaw 346. And 9A, Kaiser's Canal under other business. Ms. White?
Can I also add changing administration item D to a briefing note on signing authority and moving the in-camera session to item E under administration?
So D is signing, 8D is signing authority, 8E is in-camera session for Property Assessment Taxation Act. Sorry, Councillor Westwell, did you also have your hand up there? Oh. Councillor Bolio?
Yeah, I'd like also to add other business in regards to July the 1st.
Canada Day?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of amendments. Councillor Couvrat, are you amenable to the amendments as proposed? Councillor Pissinger? Further discussion? Mayor Napier?
Thank you. I know that we moved the special meeting forward so that we could have the minutes covered after the in-camera session. So can we move the in-camera session to accommodate the other business?
Yeah, I think we can. Ms. White?
Mr. Chair, I wonder if Councillor Bolio's amendment may come under truth and reconciliation? Is that, or did you just want an update on Canada Day?
I just want to confirm if we were allowed to have Canada
Oh,
Day
okay.
this year. Yeah.
So if you wanted to add add those things to administration, that I generally have an idea about the comments that are going to be made, like Canada Day update and Kaiser's Canal update. So they could go as E and F, and then the in-camera session could become G. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. So that's a lot of changes. So we have 8 administration. A is acting SAO. B, briefing note volunteer bunker gear. Briefing note on the DPA. D is the signing authority. E is Kaiser's Canal. F is Canada Day. And G is the in-camera session for Property Assessment and Taxation Act. Any further? Councillor Westphal?
Only that I think we're a little bit beyond the scope of a friendly amendment to the agenda.
Yes. Further discussion on the agenda as amended. We have a show of hands in favor. That's carried. Oh, I'm not voting. Sorry. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So we'll go to 4B. Mayor Napier?
Thank you. The town of Fort Smith has lowered our flags in recognition of the recent horrific discovery of the 215 children whose lives were stolen, who were buried without ceremony, away from their loved ones, their families, their cultures, their ancestors, and their land. Tonight, we are asking for 215 seconds of silence to honor the lives of the children, to express our grief and the grief of our nation for the atrocities that were committed against the Indigenous people and that have continued to have been perpetuated against the Indigenous people of Canada. We recognize the need for the community to come together to honor the lives that have been lost to the horrors of residential school, especially those of the 215 children whose bodies were discovered in Kamloops, BC. The town of Fort Smith supports the call for a national day of mourning for the children of the former Kamloops Indian Residential School whose lives were taken far too soon. We stand with the call from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities to support a national initiative to identify, commemorate, and protect residential school burial sites across Canada, a process that must be Indigenous-led and carried out through ceremony. We understand that this process will take time and require the support of all levels of government, and municipal leaders are committed to being partners in this effort. Additionally, we have identified the corner of McDougall Road and Brennett Street in front of the cathedral as a safe space for displays to honor and grieve the lives lost for 215 hours until June 10th at 4 p.m. And at this time, we will take 215 seconds for moments of silence. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Napier. Seems kind of odd just to dive back into the agenda after that. The minutes of our May 4th Corporate Services meeting are in the package. They were approved at our regular council meeting in May. Is there any questions, business arising from the minutes? Councilor Gouveia?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to follow up. I noticed in the correspondence, there, I don't know whether it's still in the works, and it's in regards to a letter of response to the suggestion and recommendations put forward by Riley Venema with regards to road or keeping our community clean. I think when we have a young person in our community that's stepping forward like that, we have an obligation to acknowledge that. And on behalf of council, I think we definitely want to encourage Ms. Venema to continue to participate in community activity.
Thank you. I'm not sure if there's an update on, if anyone can provide an update on that.
Thank you.
Anything further on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, we have visions and values in the strategic plan or in your electronic package. I'm not sure if there's anything that we want to talk about from those this evening. We've already got lots of other things to talk about. A very engaged council this evening with a amended agenda. Maybe we'll jump right into council priorities. First up is the bylaw review committee, and we don't have the minutes from the last bylaw review committee meeting available yet. I don't believe, because that was just last week, so it'll show up in the next package. But there are minutes from the honorarium bylaw review committee meeting of April 21st, and Councillor Couvert, I assume that you are a participant in that meeting, and as our council representative, I'm wondering if you could, there's a couple of recommendations in here.
Yes, as part of the last meeting, the honoraria bylaw review committee had the opportunity to spend the previous month absorbing the recommendations that were prepared and brought forward by one of the committee members. And after some further discussion, it was decided to bring those recommendations forward to council for consideration. And I guess I'm at a bit of a loss here to decide what the next actual step in this is, or the appropriate time for council to discuss the recommendations as presented.
Typically, we would take recommendations from a subcommittee of council and ask for first and second. I don't know if everyone on council has had an opportunity to. There's some. I guess the concern is that there might be some serious discussion that needs to be undertaken around some of these recommendations, because it would be a very large change from current practices in terms of the number of hours that the mayor would be compensated for, and increases to deputy mayors and councillors. And just for the benefit for the public, that this is recommendations made by an ad hoc committee of council that have researched it, and these changes wouldn't take place until the next elected council. I don't know how council wants to proceed. Do we want to, we could potentially table this and come back to have more discussion at a different time. We could dive into moving forward recommendations. Normally what we would do. Councilor Prissinger?
I suggest we table it, and if we also receive the minutes from the bylaw committee meeting.
The bylaw committee meeting last week didn't discuss the, from my recollection, didn't discuss the council honorarium bylaw in any detail. It was on water sewer. Ms. White?
Sorry, just to clarify for Councillor Pishinger, because they're very similarly named, a separate committee was struck for the council honoraria review. So that is not being discussed at the regular bylaw committee. It's two different committees currently.
Yes, thank you. I would like an outline of what they suggest and things like that, that they recommend.
Okay, so I think that is in the package. Councillor Cox?
I'm going to second Councillor Pishinger's motion to table the discussion. The information is in the package, but I think it will warrant a more lengthy discussion, I think, than I expect will happen tonight.
Okay, so there is a motion and a second to table? No, I know. So we are all hands in favor of tabling the motion? Okay, that's carried unanimously. So this will come back to the next corporate services. Yeah, next corporate services for discussion. So please take a thorough read of these recommendations. Sorry, we're now on to under governance priorities. We're now under communications committee, I believe. Sorry, Councillor Courette, was there anything further from council honorarium bylaw?
Well, included in the package was the council governance bylaw as I believe it's being brought forward as per se the final draft, and I'm just wondering if we want to get it at this point. I would be willing to make a motion that we bring it to the regular council meeting for first and second reading on June. Oh, okay.
Yes, sorry, that was it's later in the agenda.
Gotcha.
But I'll look to you when it comes time to move that. Anything further on? So the bylaw review committee did have a meeting last week, primarily to discuss water and sewer bylaw, and the minutes will be forthcoming at some point in the next few weeks. There's a lot of minuted meetings, as we all know. So are we on to communications committee? Councillor Cox?
Just a brief update. The Communications Committee did not meet during the May cycle. We will be meeting this month. And just to note that I've been attending the FCM conference and AGM this week. And yesterday there was a very informative session on using social media as a tool for councils to share information with their constituents, and I'll be sharing the information from that session with the rest of council. It was very interesting and I think relevant to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any discussion on the communications committee or council communications? Post-secondary education committee, Mayor Napier?
Thank you. We did not have a meeting of the Post-Secondary Education Committee. However, there was on Friday with the NWTAC an interactive session regarding the transformation of Aurora College. The discussion was very interesting. There was a lot of feedback in regards to the exclusion of the Indigenous people in the process to move forward to a post-secondary institution. At this point, we are looking at a joint communication or white paper from the communities, the Northwest Territories Association of Communities in regards to this matter. There was some very interesting feedback provided by one of the leaders that I will forward to council as well.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on post-secondary education? It was a very dynamic meeting. Daycare, childcare center. I think we typically get all the updates now at community services. However, council did deem this as a priority to stay on the priority list. Sorry, I missed fire abatement. Get to read lips. Yeah, are there any updates on fire abatement, Ms. White?
So our protective services supervisor is just working with ENR around whether or not there'll be funding available this year. And last week did participate in a joint session with ENR in regards to a controlled burn in the community.
Thank you for the update. I did note that fire levels are extreme in just south of the border, Fort McMurray and up past Fort Chip. Nothing further on fire abatement. Sorry, daycare. I don't know if there's any particular updates that we have that wouldn't come to community services or anything from council on that. Community recreation center. Brief update on renovations.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, things are moving forward quite well. We should see most of the equipment move down to the new Peach Gym in the basement in the next week or so. And I know that they have started doing some of the work to demolish the second floor. So it's moving along. Just for everybody who's concerned about Peach Gym, it is frighteningly bright down there.
Thank you. Comments or questions on the community rec center renovations? Councilor Bissinger?
Yeah, just want to, an update on, have you met with the senior society on how the next steps are going to be?
That would be the the appointed representatives. So, Mayor Napier, do you want to speak to that?
Thank you. We did have a meeting last week during which we discussed the layout of the room and came to agreements about what the room would look like. And our next meeting is scheduled for this upcoming Monday. So we are moving forward on the discussions.
Supplemental, Councilor Bissinger?
No, thank you.
Anything further on Community Recreation Center? Okay, so item 5A, 7 is Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There was a subheading put under this, but is there anything specific to the TRC? No. So added to the agenda was discussion of property taxation exemption, bylaw 346, I believe. This is your addition, Councilor Couvert.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to read a quick excerpt here from a proclamation the town issued on July 16th, 2020. And it's regards to the adoption of the UN document with regards to recognition of Indigenous rights. And fairways down in the document, we go and continue, and it goes, and now therefore proclaims that it shall continue to incorporate truth and reconciliation into its decision-making process. And that is in reference to the municipality of Fort Smith, or the town corporation. And I bring it up in light of the atrocities that we witnessed over the last week, the 215 children identified or unmarked grave sites identified in Kamloops, and probably thousands of others across Canada that have yet to be identified, recognized, or marked out. As part of the TRC's call to action, one of the items deals with the perpetrators of the atrocities to accept and acknowledge their roles and their responsibilities in the this crime of against humanity and the citizens, or the first citizens of our country. And to date, the Government of Canada has issued a formal apology. The Anglican Church, the Pentecostal Church. One of the major perpetrators, the Roman Catholic Church, has not issued an apology. And listening to a news article the other night, part of the assumption of that is that the Roman Catholic Church is fearful of the liabilities that would come with them acknowledging and even going as far as saying, we're sorry. So they've, to this date, have refused to, even though the TRC document asks for the Pope to come to Canada and to apologize to the First Peoples of Canada. When we look at the Roman Catholic Episcopal Corporation, it's within the top 5 wealthiest entities on earth. So how do you deal with an entity of wealth? Well, I think one of the ways to make a point is to go after their pocketbook. And going through our bylaws, I came across bylaw 346, which deals with exemption of certain properties from taxation. And this was last updated in 1988. And it includes the Roman Catholic Corporation, the Bishop of the Arctic, the Pentecostal Church, the King's Baptist Church. All of those were somewhat involved in the atrocities that were committed. Most of those entities have also apologized and acknowledged their role in that commitment of atrocities. Again, the Roman Catholic Church has not. Why are we as a municipal corporation providing them with a tax exemption for their properties when they refuse to acknowledge their role in this hideous crime that they were part of? And as part of this, I would almost suggest, and I would recommend other communities to look at tax exemption to the Roman Catholic Church until such time as the Pope gets on that plane he has sitting in the Vatican, flies over to Canada, and presents a proper and heartfelt apology for their role and acknowledge that they did the First Peoples of this country a grievous wrong. So I am going to, I would like to recommend that we bring this to the Bylaw Review Committee to review removing the exemption for that particular body until such time as that appropriate apology is issued to the First Peoples of Canada.
Thank you, Councillor Gravetta. You're making a recommendation. Is anyone willing to second that recommendation? Councillor Cox? You've already spoken to the recommendation. Would you like to speak to it further? Discussion? Can I just ask for clarification from administration under when we were doing our mill rate bylaw? I'm fairly sure that we were given a part of a briefing note which explained the mill rate impact on institutional. and I don't have it in front of me, but I recall that the churches or certain properties owned by the churches were part of that discussion. And I don't have it in front of me, so Ms. White.
My understanding is that certain parts of the properties are exempt, but auxiliary potentially are not, so, or ancillary properties may not be exempt. I would have to go back and look. But that bylaw does not appear to be repealed, so.
I don't have the list in front of me. I just remember SALT, that being there, and I thought some of the other buildings were, along with the museum and some of the other non-commercial government. Thank you for the clarification. Councillor Bolio?
I totally agree with Councillor Couvret on the tax thing with the churches and stuff. But on the other hand, also, no amount of apologies or money or anything is going to bring back what we lost. And apologies are not accepted because they're not going to bring back our relatives.
Thank you, Councillor Bolio. Further discussion on the recommendation. The recommendation is to send bylaw 346 to bylaw review committee for review. Further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. Show of hands in favor. So we have 5 in favor, opposed, 1 opposed. Councillor Westwell. Obviously, there's no abstentions. The motion is carried. I think that is it for, unless I've missed something on my heavily amended list. I think we're done the governance priorities. Moving into the director's report. Ms. White.
Thank you. I will pass this over to the Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Kidd.
Microphone, Ms. Kidd.
Sorry, thank you very much. For corporate service, the things that we have on our agenda this month and into next month is processing the seniors and disabled tax relief. So far, we have about 143 claims, approximately 340,000, 50-50 between 50-50 split between the town of Fort Smith and Marker. We also in the process of looking at our payroll again and trying to migrate to a more robust system. That should be coming this fall, but we are starting the process of putting a team together, a transitional team, and training our staff to use the new system eventually. We have been sort of blanketing the airwaves with public service announcement, reminding taxpayers that June, the end of this month, is the final day to pay taxes, and also just a friendly reminder to seniors and disabled to come in and sign the tax relief form. We'll be doing more of those PSAs because many people tell us they want to see those PSAs, and we're taking a page out of council by sending out the public service announcement for the taxes. There was a pretty good review, so we think we should adapt the process, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kidd. Ms. White?
In regard to the PSAs, yes, thank you. That is something we're going to start doing. One of the reasons is we have had people say they were unaware that their taxes were due, or they were surprised that they didn't get additional notices. doing those additional notices would be very burdensome, and not sort of the standard for municipal government to provide those second or third notices. This is an opportunity for us to do that in a less work-intensive way by providing these PSAs to the community on a regular basis.
Thank you. Just for clarification, did you say there's 145 applicants currently? 43. Thank you for that. And I would imagine those that don't pay their taxes do get a formal notice that they are in arrears 30 days after they don't pay their taxes.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Just for clarification, that those who don't pay their taxes by June would get a formal notification that they are officially in arrears in the town after 30 days?
No, well, July 1st, we're going to start applying interest and penalties. In the last year, we haven't been very proactive in letting taxpayers know that they are behind. That's why we are implementing a more aggressive public service announcement to let people know that, if you haven't paid your taxes, please do, 1.8% monthly. And also we are posting the PSAs at the frequent stores which are frequented by taxpayers in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Kidd. Ms. White, did you have another comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just to clarify, we do not send out a notice that they're in arrears. They receive their tax notice, and that is typical way that is managed by any municipality. They do start to receive notices, or there is the community publication after December 31st for those who are in arrears. But they don't receive individual notices. That would be very challenging.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to get it all stated for council in terms of how the process worked. Is discussion on the director's report? Okay, well, no questions or comments. The accounts paid list, the correspondence list, and the license report are also as part of the director's report in your package for your information. So there's nothing on that. Well, I'll move to item 7, bylaw policy review and development. We're bringing the bylaw review committee has brought the council governance bylaw back. Councillor Couvret, chair of the bylaw review committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, at our last bylaw review committee meeting, was deemed that we had, as a committee, had received no further feedback from our last discussion on the bylaw as presented and discussed. And I believe the SAO has taken some of the concerns from that last discussion into account and incorporated it into this final draft that has been circulated. And at this time, I would like to make a recommendation that the bylaw, the council governance bylaw, which hasn't been assigned a number yet, be moved for first and second reading at the upcoming council meeting on the June cycle, 21st, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. You're seconding that? Any further opportunity to speak to specifically the motion? You already have, but no discussion on the recommendation? Just to remind council that, and there were some concerns expressed previously. There was a request for more feedback, which there was no feedback received in writing. The way, of course, our process works is that there is an opportunity to amend further as we work through our first and second readings at regular council. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing discussion. Okay, well, if there's no comments, show of hands in favor of the recommendation as moved. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor. Abstentions? Opposed? Councillor Westwell? The motion is carried. Sorry, that went faster than I expected it to. Administration, acting senior administrative officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We currently do not have a standing acting SAO as we did with the last senior administrative officer, but I will be on leave from June 28th to July 2nd. And so we'll have Emily Colucci acting as SAO. I believe you need to make a recommendation.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Looking for council to make such recommendation. Oh, thank Mary Napier. Thinking your leave might be in question.
Sorry, was that the? So you're looking for June 27th at 5 p.m.? (25th) at 5 p.m. to July 5th at 8:30. I recommend that Emily Colucci be appointed acting SAO from the period of June 25th at 5 p.m. to July 5th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you. Second on the motion. The recommendation. Councillor Couvret. Discussion. Show of hands in favor. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Briefing note, volunteer firefighter bunker gear.
You'll see a briefing note. Volunteer Fire Department bunker gear is due for replacement. A tender was issued for 21 replacement sets of bunker gear, and it closed on the 14th of May 2021 with 2 respondents. The current bunker gear is 10 years old, and the WSCC legislation requires replacement at 10 years. The tender was for 21 sets of bunker gear, which covers our volunteers who are currently trained to fight interior structure fires. Moving forward, an evergreen plan is being developed to replace bunker gear on a more regular basis and in smaller batches, ensuring all volunteers have the highest standard of protective equipment. There were 2 respondents to the tender. One respondent was a local company, Cab Construction, but their bid did not meet the requirements of the town's local preference policy, as it was over the 10% threshold on purchases over $100,000. The 2021 capital plan had allocated $85,000 for the purchase of replacement bunker gear. So our recommendation is that council approve the capital expenditure of $62,489.07 to purchase 21 sets of bunker gear from West Tech Fire and Safety.
Thank you. Maybe first I'll look for a recommendation on the motion, and then we can have a discussion. Councillor Couvret.
I move that we approve the capital expenditure of $62,489.07 to purchase 21 sets of bunker gear from Westec Fire and Safety.
Thank you. Is there a second on the motion? Councillor Cox? Okay, now discussion. Councillor Cox?
Yes, just to clarify that the bid came in more than $20,000 less than we had budgeted.
Yeah, so I think we had been unsure exactly how much it would cost per set. And there was a thought of purchasing more, but the protective services supervisor just wanted to cover the people who are qualified to be interior and structure fires this year. And then to be able to evergreen on a more paced basis going forward.
Supplemental, Councillor Cox? So the replacement of bumper gear would be an annual expense to the town for an X number of sets. Is there significant savings in volume?
No, there doesn't appear to be. We were provided with an individual set price as well. So we're comfortable with that.
Thank you. Further discussion on the recommendation? Okay, show of, sorry, Councillor Pessinger?
Yes, so the original bid there was for 21, a set of 21, right? So how many sets are you getting now for the 62,000? The 21?
Thank you. Further discussion? Show of hands in favor of the recommendation. 1, 2, 3, carried unanimously. Thank you. This is where the list gets fun. No, not yet. The next one is still in the right order. We have a briefing note on DPA 00821. Mr. Keith Morrison. Ms. White?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Keith Morrison has submitted a home occupation development application, DPA 00821, to operate a home occupation consulting business from lot 002, Block A, Plan 0209, 38 Pickle Crescent in Fort Smith. Mr. Morrison owns the property. The property is zoned R2, multi-dwelling residential, and home occupation business is a conditional use in the zone requiring council approval. Mr. Morrison has applied to operate a home business providing consulting services as stated above. The applicant will be given a copy of the business license bylaw and amendments thereto once council has approved the development application to ensure compliance with the conditions set out for home occupation business licenses. In addition to meeting the town's bylaws, the applicant has been advised to meet all other pertinent jurisdictional requirements such as, but not limited to, the National Building Code, National Fire Code, federal and territorial regulations relevant to consulting services, as well as bylaw 855, the unsightly land bylaw. Mr. Morrison outlined his business activities as the following: providing general consulting services. He advised that there be no public business activity at the location and that there will be zero impact on vehicle or pedestrian traffic. The recommendation is that DPA 00821 submitted by Keith Morrison to operate a home occupation consulting business from lot 0002, Block A, Plan 0209, 38 Pickle Crescent in Fort Smith be approved.
Thank you. Looking for a recommendation on the, looking for council to move the recommendation. Councillor Westwell?
I move the recommendation to count the council approves DPA 008-21.
Thank you. Seconded. Mayor Napier? Discussion on the DPA? Councillor Couvret?
Yeah, just a general inquiry. General consulting's a rather open term. I'm just wondering, do we typically ask people to provide a little more substantiation of what type of consulting services? Whether it's nail color consulting services versus engineering consulting services.
Thank you. I know the application form doesn't ask for a lot of detail, and I think most of the applications that we see are pretty simple. Ms. White, do you have a comment on that?
No, we don't ask for anything more specific. Often people will provide more detail in regards to what things they will be doing, if they're doing multiple things, but it's not a requirement to provide that much detail.
Councilor Westphal?
Yeah, and it's on the onus of the applicant to put under these services offered, basically, which is up to your own. But generally, it fits the bill. Otherwise, for home occupation consulting business, it's
I think it's also what the website administrator uses to populate the business directory database. So it's usually in the interest of the business to be as specific as possible so people can find the right services. Further discussion on the recommendation, Councilor Plessinger?
Just to carry on what Councillor Couvret has brought up, I don't know if this is the time to ask, but is there a way to add things into the application as to what services will be provided and things like that? I would just like a little more, more information. Like, I think there should be some, what services are going to be provided. Is that up to us as council or the town to add that to the application?
I think that we would have to have a discussion on the business license bylaw for that to take place. And the application form reflects what's currently in the bylaw. Ms. White?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I think we would have to review the bylaw because this is an appendix, I believe, of the bylaw. And I think there's a chance it's on our list, but may not get to as quickly as some other ones.
Duly noted, though. Further comments on the DPA? Show of hands in favor? 1, 2, 3. It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now the list gets funny. I believe 8D was signing authority. There was a paper placed in our desks, a briefing note, placed in our desks regarding this. Ms. White?
Thank you, and you should have received an email copy as well. So the purpose of this briefing note is to designate signing authorities on all Town of Fort Smith bank accounts. At the regular meeting council in July of 2019, a motion was made having Mayor Napier, Deputy Mayor Smith, and Councillor Westwell be signing authority on behalf of council, and the signing authorities for the Town of Fort Smith would be, oops, that's me making a mistake, would be Keith Morrison, Keith Morrison, I'm going to correct the briefing note. Keith Morrison, a Senior Administrative Officer, O'Brien Kidd is Director of Corporate Services, Cynthia White is Director of Community Services, and Paul Kaiser is Director of Municipal Services on behalf of administration, and that all documents must be signed by 2 officers, one from council and one from administration. So the sign authorities require amending due to the resignation of Keith Morrison, who was the SAO, and Paul Kaiser, Director of Municipal Services, and also to reflect the hiring of the new SAO, Cynthia White, and Emily Colucci, Director of Community Services. The recommendation is that the signing authorities for the Town of Fort Smith be Mayor Lynn Napier, Deputy Mayor Kevin Smith, and Councillor Chris Westwell on behalf of council. And the signing authorities for the Town of Fort Smith shall be Cynthia White, Senior Administrative Officer, O'Brien Kidd, Director of Corporate Services, and Emily Colucci, Director of Community Services. That all documents must be signed by 2 officers, one from council and one from administration.
Thank you. So we're looking for a recommendation. Mayor Napier?
Thank you. I will recommend that the signing authorities for the Town of Fort Smith shall be Mayor Lynn Napier, Deputy Mayor Kevin Smith, and Councillor Chris Westwell on behalf of council, and that the signing authorities for the Town of Fort Smith shall be Cynthia White, Senior Administrative Officer, O'Brien Kidd, Director of Corporate Services, and Emily Colucci, Director of Community Services, and that all documents must be signed by 2 officers, one from council and one from administration.
Thank you. Can I get a second to the motion? Councillor Couvret. Discussion? Councillor Bissinger?
And if we do get a Director of Municipal Services, will they be added to that? I thought you mentioned that Mr. Kaiser was on the signing authority when he was.
Ms. White?
Yes, we would look for an amendment to the signing authorities if we hire someone in the Municipal Services Department.
And obviously, the election of a new council would obviously likely require new signatures as well. Further discussion on the recommendation? Housekeeping? Show of hands in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. I think I had Kaiser's Canal as 8E. I can't read my own handwriting. Is that correct? Councillor Cox?
I know there's been lots of dialogue at council as well as in recent months, as well as in the community, particularly in the last month or so, about Kaiser's Canal and how effectively it's working or not working. And I know there's been some dialogue between the town and the GNWT over the last week, so just looking for an update from administration.
Thank you, Ms. White.
Thank you. So we've been working with our regional superintendent of MACA to help us determine responsibilities and who was expected to continue to maintain Kaiser's Canal. It's a bit unclear at the moment because a license was issued to the town of Fort Smith initially, and in 1999, the Alberta government extended licenses to 2018, but all communications after that seem to have gone directly to the GNWT rather than the town of Fort Smith. And then the licenses were extended again to 2039. Unfortunately, the person in Alberta who held this information has passed away. So the people in that department are trying to piece together any other information they have in regards to that license and communications around that license. It does appear that there was some discussion with Alberta Water Approvals Team Lead Boreal District Regulatory Assurance Division from North Alberta Environment and Parks and Department of Infrastructure around the canal last fall, and it was determined that the canal was not a component of the GNWT's highway drainage system, and it's not related to the NWT highway drainage system. Up until this date, my understanding is that Department of Transport Infrastructure had been doing the maintenance. They are going to try and provide us with some additional information on these files, but they confirm that what they currently see is the license to the town was extended to 2039, although we've had no direct conversations about it. The GNWT has. And the license provides the town of Fort Smith the authority to maintain the canal in accordance with the license. He said that if there are any obstructions constructed without permission and they are sitting within the licensed area, the town has the authority to remove them. So there is some question about some obstructions on the canal that may be causing the water to back up and not flow at the rate that it should be. We will have to continue to gather some information and determine whether or not those structures actually fall within the licensed area. There is some indication that some of the canal actually doesn't fall within the licensed area. Based on their satellite imaging. So it's a bit convoluted, so I can't give you a clear answer, but we are working with MACA and infrastructure to try and figure this out.
Thank you for that update, Councillor Cox.
Is there a role that can we as a council put pressure on the GNWT to to sort this out sooner than later and actually get some work done on the canal to get the water flowing before it causes the river bank to completely slump.
Ms. White?
Political advocacy is always a valued option. I think that we're getting some good uptake from MACA and getting this solved. We're hoping to get some more information in the next week. But if the outcome is that we are responsible for maintenance of the canal, it is not something that we've budgeted. And we will have to go back and look at our capital budget and determine how often maintenance has to happen. I know that a local contractor has been doing maintenance on it in the past on behalf of infrastructure. So we would have to go back and look at a maintenance plan and determine if we will require capital funds this year to make the adjustments, maintenance, dredging, removing obstructions, everything.
So just for clarification, Ms. White, you said that the town still holds the license, but the town just was not involved in any conversations about renewal of license, and it hasn't been since before 1999. Is that? I just wanted to clarify that was what you said.
That is what I said. That is what the correspondence appears to show from discussions last fall and earlier this spring, that the amendments, there have been 2 amendments to the license, but those amendments involve conversation with the GNWT and not with the town directly.
Interesting. Councillor Couvret?
Thank you. I've been approached by several people regarding this subject, and even had the opportunity to go and inspect one basement that is suffering from the high groundwater level as a result of the water sitting in the canal. This is affecting property owners within our municipality, and we need to be working on this as quickly as possible. So if we need a motion to move that the Department of Infrastructure continue the responsibility as they have in the past, and do so immediately, or advise us that they are no longer interested, so that the town can take appropriate action to work on this. As Councillor Cox said, the people I've talked to are worried that as the water table has risen, it's going to want to flow to the lowest point around here, and currently that is the river. And that's meaning we've got groundwater going underneath our town, and we know what happened in 1968, I believe. There was an incident where there was a major slide, and some of the areas that are looking at potentially sliding include our sewage lagoon. If we lose that, we're talking a minimum of $15 million outlay, and what does the community do in the meantime without a sewage lagoon? So I think this is a very high priority item, and we need to be dealing with it immediately.
Thank you, Councillor Couvret. Councillor Bissinger?
Just a few comments. You had mentioned that the town holds the license for the canal, and since 1999, and they renewed it. What year did you say? Just a couple of years ago?
It was initially obtained in the 1980s, and it was renewed in 99 and renewed in 2018.
Okay.
But those amendments, from what we can understand, historically were made with the GNWT, not the town of Fort Smith.
Okay, so if the town was the original holder of the license, why weren't the Alberta government or whoever issues the license talking to the GNWT when it was the town of Fort Smith who held the license? That confuses me. And then also now, you MACA and infrastructure, no one wants to take responsibility for all the damage that the water is causing. So now is the perfect opportunity for everyone to work together to solve this issue. It does affect our community, the MACA infrastructure. It's their highway right next to us, where it's in town boundary. That the worst of it is. So I think that's our major goal, I think, should be is to try to work with MACA and infrastructure to get that fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Bissinger. I think what I heard Ms. White say was that they are investigating historical actions and what next steps are. In answer to your question, typically provinces deal with other provinces and territories. They wouldn't typically deal with a municipality of another. It's in government to government relationships. That's probably why. And what it sounds like is that the GNWT just didn't inform the town that there was an amendment, a renewal of the license in 2018. Yeah. Councillor Bolio?
Yeah, just to bring up an issue about you talking about maintenance and stuff for Kaiser Canal. What's the feasibility of opening the doors to Aurora College? They have heavy equipment. You've got any amount of resources there to maintain Kaiser Canal and the resources in our community. Why can't we make use of the resources here rather than going down south to do all our maintenance work here?
Ms. White?
So I think there are two parts that I think that a local contractor has previously been doing the maintenance on the canal on behalf of infrastructure. One of the major issues appears to be, it's uncertain, that there are some structures that have been built that are obstructing the canal, and we have to ensure that we are not illegally moving people's structures if it doesn't fall within our jurisdiction. So yes, we could certainly engage another partner like the college, but if the issue is that the structures are causing the reduction in flow, then we have to ensure that we have the jurisdiction to remove those structures before we engage in that. Otherwise, we're going to be liable for that property.
Thank you. And just clarification of these structures in Alberta?
Yes, the whole canal is in.
Yeah,
Alberta.
I understand that.
Yeah,
but
so they're in Alberta, and it does appear that as a part of our license that we have the jurisdiction to remove it, but if we are unaware that the license had been amended, then did we enter into an agreement on this? Do we have the jurisdiction? Does it actually fall within the licensed area? Because again, it does appear that part of the canal is outside of the licensed area. So we don't want to be unfortunately rushing in to remove somebody's structure if we don't have the jurisdiction to do so, because it holds us in an awkward position.
Are the structures on reserved land?
I don't believe they are.
Okay. Councillor Bissinger, you had a question?
No, I think you've asked the question. Just like you had said, if the structures are in Alberta and we have the license, and I don't think anyone owns any part, like any personal part of Kaiser Canal, like, so I think the town should try to work with all the organizations like Councilor Bowl you had mentioned too, the college. What perfect opportunity, So I think, like I had mentioned earlier, I would like to see a gathering or people meet with the infrastructure, the town infrastructure in MACA to resolve this issue and come up with long-term plans. I think that's the bottom line, and it has to be done.
Thank you. Ms. White, do you have a further comment on that, or no? You're actively engaging and talking to MACA. Further discussion on Kaiser's Canal? Okay, thank you. I think the last item on the amended, or the second last item on the amended administration list was Canada Day, an update on Canada Day. Councillor Bolio?
Yeah, just a more of asking question, I guess. Are we going to be celebrating Canada Day? I was asked by the community if they would be able to celebrate in, like they did in previous years before the pandemic came along.
Ms. White?
Well, that appears to be the question of the year. I think we're still awaiting an update from the Chief Public Health Officer's office around outdoor gathering sizes. We'll have more of an update from the director next week during community services, but the team is planning, contingency planning, making more plans. So I think we're ready to do something and pivot in some way. Whether or not we'll be able to serve food will be sort of still up in the air. What size the gathering can be, whether it'll be limited to an amount or if it'll be open. It's really all, we're just waiting for more word from public health.
Supplemental, supplemental, Councillor Bullion?
Yeah, the other thing to that question was the community doesn't see a problem with celebrating Canada Day, as other not provinces, but other communities in the NWT have celebrated gatherings this winter as similar to the frolics. They had the dog mushing and everything. And Hay River is opening up their fishing wharf to the communities. And also Resolution celebrated their carnival. They had no problems. And I don't see why Fort Smith cannot celebrate Canada Day, because we have no COVID in our community. We've been safe so far. And it would be something that the community can look forward to, because we are getting frustrated and having nothing to do. And we're the only community that is not doing anything. Yellowknife is also going to be opening their doors to Folk on the Rocks this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bullion. Further discussion on Canada Day? Mayor Napier?
Thank you. I believe that there are updates coming out from the Chief Public Health Officer this week, both, I think, for updates for Emerging Wisely, but also for businesses. I don't know what we can do for Canada Day, but I think even with last year, we still managed to do something. So I think it would be wise to just look at what our capacity would be for that day, and to look at submitting a plan to the Chief Public Health Officer.
Councillor Bullion?
Yeah. They enjoyed what we did last year with the isolated parade and stuff and giving out the toys to the kids on the side of the road. But the community wants to see more activity in their involvement with Canada Day, like I said, in previous years, rather than seeing it through the window. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bullion. I think we're at the end of our amended list. Next, we have item 8G, in-camera session as per CTV Act for the setting of minimum tax sale prices under the Property Assessment Taxation Act. Looking for recommendation to move in camera. Mayor Napier?
Thank you. I will recommend that we move in camera as per CTV Act, Section 23, Subsection 3, Subsection G, for the setting of minimum tax sale prices under the Property Assessment and Taxation Act.
Thank you. Second? Councillor Cox? Discussion? Show of hands in favor? It's carried unanimously. 822.